All right, what's up, everybody? It's Uncle Chrissy. I'm just gonna do a quick recap what happened this weekend, mostly Friday. It was a busy day on Friday. We had three big drops. We had the Asics Gallery Department GT-2160s. We had the reverse Grinches, and then we had the Powerpuff SBs. A lot of stuff going on that day. It was busy. First off, the Asics Gallery Department was an absolute massacre. I tried to grab them, I think at about 10:57. The site went absolutely dead. By the time it came back up a couple minutes later, everything was already ripped through. So it is what it is. Got to take that L on the chin. Definitely not going to pay that resale price for it. And moving on. So the Grinches. Obviously, this is probably one of the bigger drops of the year. Obviously, the biggest drop going on right about now. So we had the sneakers pass Thursday. It's a little bit weird to me. There was a lot of stores that actually had stock and only a very small amount actually participated in the sneakers pass, which leads me to believe that there may actually be some stores that are holding out. There may actually be some people that still have stock on hand, and I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I really don't. But not a lot of people hit the sneakers pass, but the good news was the next day for the actual drop, everybody was able to hit. So 224,000, that was the number of pairs that were still floating around for the drop just on Friday. That's not including the early access, exclusive access. That's not including the shock drop. That's not including the sneakers pass. That was just what's dropped on Friday for the release itself. There was dubs everywhere. I saw so many dubs. It was great to see. I think probably like 30, 40 people tagged me on Twitter, plus the discourse. There was so much success. I actually hit a pair for myself. Haven't hit a Kobe ever on sneakers, so that was pretty exciting to see. I'm glad everybody was able to get their hands on a pair. Not everybody, but a lot of people were able to get their hands on pairs, and very exciting to see that. Very glad. There was the number of 32,000 floating around on there. It got erroneously posted. That was never the case. That was never the number, and it was tough because a lot of blogs picked it up and ran with it. A lot of the bigger pages picked it up and ran with it. So I really hate to think that maybe some people were a little discouraged by that and maybe didn't run for it, because 224 was the number. It always was the number. There was never any doubt that it was anything really less than that, you know, maybe plus or minus a couple thousand, but that was always the case. We confirmed it pretty early on and had the number for everybody. So hopefully nobody got discouraged and everybody was able to get their pairs off that. I do think that there may be one more chance if you didn't get your Grinches. We still have yet to see the mambamambacita.org site release. I think if you recall last year, I believe it was, might have been the year before, I don't remember, when they did the original Grinch, the green pair restock with the, I think it was a 6-pack of children's books. I believe that took place on Christmas Day. Christmas night, I think it was, later on in the day. I remember seeing it pop up. So I would be aware of that. That shop is requiring accounts. So go ahead and make an account on there if you don't have one already. It does get botted pretty hard. But don't get discouraged because it comes on randomly. They'll put up a password page that does slow the bots down a little bit, but if you are on it, you can absolutely hit from the Mambacita site. So please make sure you're paying attention to that. I'll do what I can when I find out information to get it out there for everyone, but I am expecting to see that site drop by the end of the year. So let's move on now to the Powerpuffs. Ooh, that was a bit of a train wreck. So the Powerpuff SBs, a Nike to the scratcher, which I respect them. I love the scratchers. They are a fun way to actually do a sneaker release, and they're absolutely bot proof. I spoke to a couple different people that I know that when they say what bots are and aren't capable of, I trust their word. I trust their word unequivocally. So when they tell me that there's no bots that can support the scratcher, there's no bots that can support the cam, I believe them. I believe them absolutely. And I think what this was just a matter of everything being overloaded. So I had the information a little bit earlier. We put it out there the day of or the day before maybe. So it was 3, 4, and 5 o'clock, an hour apart for the 3 releases. And I apologize, the last YouTube I put out, I think I had the wrong names out there. I don't know the first thing about Powerpuff Girls. I am sorry if I got the names mixed up or the colors mixed up. My bad. Sorry. But I think we started off with the green pair, then it was the blue pair, and then it was the pink pair. So this was tough. So we put the images out early on. Everybody knew what to look for, and it wasn't easy. So for me, the green pair was the easiest because that was the first one. Maybe not everybody knew what they were doing, but you had to scratch on the image, get it to reveal, and then actually hopefully there were still pairs left when you got through to copy your size. but it was wonky. It was not smooth. I think I scratched and scratched and scratched and scratched, refreshed, backed out, scratched again, refreshed, backed out, scratched again. And I think maybe after the 6th or 7th time, I finally got the product page to load. By that time on the greens, my size was gone. Couldn't get it. Is what it is. Moved on an hour later. We were hoping to see that there was going to be some improvements to the functionality of the scratcher. And unfortunately for me anyway, it got worse. I think I did maybe 10 or 11 times, backing out, refreshing, backing out, refreshing, scratching off, scratched the entire image off fully. I probably broke my phone screen. And for the blue pair, I could never actually get to the product page. It never loaded. I never got the video, never got to see anything. There was a lot of people talking about payment issues. A lot of people got to the product page and the submit payment button was grayed out. A lot of people would submit payment and it wouldn't go out or wouldn't go through. And from what I've been told, it's an issue of these scratcher drops, these cam drops, these first come, first serve and Leo drops aren't built in a manner that can support the mass amount of quantity of requests that they receive. That's the reason they do the Dan draws, is because they can handle so much more traffic, handle so many more requests, so much more volume for these Dan draws. That's the 10-minute draws, by the way. That's the reason they do those, is because they can take their time, they can support payment issues, they can work through errors, and they can still give everybody a chance to enter within the 10 minutes. So with all those errors in play, Nike threw us a curveball on the last pair, the pink pair. Sorry, again, I think it's Blossom. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be Buttercup, I don't know. But just like a couple of minutes before, we knew that they were throwing us a curveball. We saw it changing up. I tried to put it out on Twitter as quick as I could, but by that time, it was just like maybe a minute before once we saw it. And that loaded up as just your standard issue shock drop. So I don't know. This was not part of the plan. This was not Nike's plan. They were all loaded for the same type of drop, which was the scratcher initially. And then just maybe a couple of minutes before 5 o'clock, they switched it up to just your standard shock drop, loaded up, 10 minutes, everybody gets a chance to enter. Again, that was smooth for everybody. But then, of course, you got people complaining that, bots took stock, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it is what it is. You got people complaining that the scratcher didn't work. Then you got people complaining when they change up and try to do something to make it a little bit easier for everybody to enter. So it's kind of a no-win for Nike on this one. But I do commend them. I like the scratchers. I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they did it on this drop. Gave people the chance to get their pairs. The preschool and the toddler size were right there on the website for everybody to grab. They also put those up on the IG shop. So the Nike SB IG shop put up the preschool and the toddler sizes for Instagram purchasing. I didn't find that out until after the fact, but it was up there. So hopefully everybody who wanted a pair for the kids was able to grab one. I know some people were still left out in the cold, but hats off to Nike. They did what they could. They tried to do the release in a manner that was manual friendly. A lot of people were able to hit. A lot of people hit success and dubs. So I'm glad to see that. But unfortunately, you just can't please everybody. You can't, and I think Nike knows that. But again, hats off to them for giving it a shot. So yeah, it was a busy day. Personally, I took the rest of the weekend off from social media, but it is what it is. So hopefully everybody had a good time with it. The Grinches were plentiful. There was enough to go around. I think we're still going to see the Mambasita side drop before the end of the year. And then hopefully you had a good time with the scratchers. And if this is your first time with the scratcher, hopefully we learned a little bit. We know that if you get to the page and it's bouncing around when you try to do the scratch, going back and forth, back out immediately, go back in, refresh, and try to get that page to stabilize a little bit. But overall, it was a fun day. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed this little recap of me here. We're going to be doing a lot more on YouTube going forward in the next year. I'm going to try to get set up with some, one of those fancy restreaming kind of tools to give you some cool graphics and image work and make it work a little easier for me and make it a little more visual friendly. So again, this is Uncle Chrissy. I'm about to sign off. It's the holiday season, folks. Forget about sneakers. There's not much left coming out the rest of the year. Get outside, have some fun, be with your family, be with your friends, and enjoy the rest of the year. So peace out. See y'all around.